I wish for one thing. Results.
And we are back with a new masterclass today. After reviewing the fantastic defense capabilities and also surprising offensive capabilities of Caustic, today we're gonna devote an entire masterclass on his traps, which are the crown jewels of this legend, and for which without them Caustic wouldn't be as lethal and toxic and probably annoying for his enemies as he would be. So there is so many things we can say about his traps, so we're probably gonna split it into 2 masterclass episodes on those. And so we're gonna review in these first steps the most basic and need to know techniques for you guys to master, and we'll review later on the road some even more advanced techniques. So without further ado, a little bit of theory first. As you probably already know, or I've learned from the previous video, Caustic has a maximum of 6 active traps to be able to be placed on the battleground, and can carry at any time 3 traps. And therefore we're gonna focus on this number for most of the techniques and combos we're gonna review here. We won't make any distinction between defense or offense, as those techniques need to be adaptive and extremely reactive depending on the situation of the fight, where the enemy are gonna be, and how you be able to control the situation at any time. Whether if it's changing a defensive situation into a counter-attack, or having to place emergency defense countermeasures while pushing a squad or being on the offensive side. Obviously those techniques will even be better while applied with teammates who know how to utilize fully Caustic defenses and offensive abilities, but they are not detrimental to the proper execution and result of those techniques. Last point, but extremely important for you to comprehend, is the lifespan of a trap. From the moment you're gonna place a trap and the few seconds where it's extremely vulnerable to enemy fire and your own gunfire, to the moment it's finally set and be able to be activated, providing you with a temporary cover, as now the trap can still be destroyed even after activation. So having a full comprehension of those moments and being able to utilize them to your advantage, whether using the traps as a decoy or as a full defensive or offensive countermeasures, will help you to reach a new level of Caustic supremacy on the battlefield. So let's get to the fun part, shall we? And we're gonna start with a very simple but extremely efficient defensive technique that you can use rather to give you time to heal or set up a trap to your enemies. And for that all you need is a wall and placing 2 traps. So you're gonna place 1 trap exactly on the edge of the wall, giving you a full cover, and the second trap slightly disaligned, procuring you a greater coverage, especially if you get flanked, as it is usually easy to pinpoint down a Caustic location based on his own traps. So this gas positioning will give you a greater coverage and also being able to take the angle on the enemy while taking a minimum amount of damages. The fact that the 2 traps are not stuck to one another and allow you to move in between and adapt to the enemy positioning is really key here. A fun part of Caustic gas traps is that they can be thrown relatively far, whether horizontally or vertically, and you can even give them a little bit of boost while jumping in the air at the same time. So when you're fighting an enemy who has the high ground on you, and despite being at your disadvantage, you can use this trap as a distraction, as the enemy will usually not know if he needs to avoid the gas or shoot the gas trap or shoot at you. So during this split second of confusion is where you need to strike. So it takes a little bit of practice, but it's extremely enjoyable. Obviously you don't need to finish every time this technique with a finisher, and always remember it's still a high risk maneuver, alright? So it doesn't necessarily gonna work every single time, and the more you practice and the more you work on the timing, the better it will get. And yes, do a finisher, you earned it. And the ability of being able to push some teams who have the high ground on you is relatively remarkable. It's also super fun, as most of the time you're literally pushing the unknown, but having some extra information thanks to your teammates, like in this specific example, the blood and scan, will allow you to really pinpoint the enemy and end up in a high ground winning position. And in a more basic approach, using a trap as a decoy is also a great way to avoid taking extra damages and give you this winning edge during a fight, especially a 1v1. My second probably favorite technique is what I call the triangle of death. If you guys are familiar with the anime Code Geass, Lelouch of the Rebellion, and his famous checkmate moment, well, this is basically the feeling I got every time I managed to pull this one out. So, Triangle of Death consisting of you and two traps. Once pinpointed and probably weakened, we're gonna put one trap on the left position of the enemy, and a second one at their rear or flank side. The first gas trap, as knowledgeable enemies will still be probably focused on your side, will use as a decoy or protection if they don't destroy it right away, giving time for the second trap at the back, usually when they're not gonna look at, to be activated. And at that moment, you're literally having the enemy surrounded in a triangle position, unable to fight you or the gas at the same time. The two key points in this maneuver is first to be able to pinpoint the enemy location precisely, and second, being able to put your gas trap taking a minimum amount of damages. I always like to imagine Caustic and Apex as a game of chess, when Caustic places his gas traps around like chess pieces. And what is really fun in this technique is that the enemy doesn't really realize yet, and the fight is often over even before the very first gunshot is fired. Because once you got the enemy locked in this position and manage to keep him inside this triangle, you completely shift the odds of the fight on your favor, giving the enemy little to no options. He's rather fighting your gas traps and get shot by you, or try to run away and get shot by you, or just try to fight you and kill you while still getting hurt by the gas. So in any of the decisions he's making, he's in a very huge disadvantage, mentally and realistically. Well, unfortunately, sometimes things are not gonna go as planned. And if you're in a very disadvantageous situation and you're running low on gas traps, you can use this single trap technique. It has the same effect of blocking the door, but also cover your back. Because if the enemy tries to break the door, the gas will still activate, and if someone is pushing you from behind while you're healing, the gas will also give you a cover. You can also use this setup in an offensive situation, giving you still rear cover and also being able not to block the entry point, so giving you access to go in and out for you and your teammates. Last but not least, and this one is extremely challenging, again on an offensive setup, it's to use your gas traps as kind of anchors when you have when you're gonna push in a place with 0 to no covers. So basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna start from a cover point and use your traps to give you cover to be able to close on your enemies and reach the advantageous position they have on you. So here the start of the offense is actually my teammate being able to crack one of them, giving us a 5-second window probably for a bat to be popped. So utilizing that time, I put my first trap, and when I see that he's about to be set and therefore able to give me some cover, I place the second one. For example, if the enemy had shot the first trap right away, I would have backed off. Note that the trap is still in play and can offer me protective cover in case I have to fight this last enemy. So caustic traps are extremely versatile, and I would say we're just scratching the surface here, as there is so many use you can utilize them. Whether to force an enemy out of cover, giving you extra protection while looting in plain sight,
In the fucking storm. I thought they were supposed to go away.
repel some annoying prowlers who are coming at you, still give you a decent amount of cover, despite the fact that they are now breakable. Being able to isolate a down enemy from his teammate and finish him off.
Res me behind the trap.
Giving you this sweet sense of cocoon protection when you're raised in the middle of insane gunfight. Utilize to your advantage the fact that you can destroy your own traps to push an enemy squad. Implementing a little bit of movement while escaping a lethal flank and let your enemy find out actually he's pushing your own gas is also very satisfying. The overall mindset is to experiment as much as possible, gain as much experience as you can through fights and encounters. It might not work every time, but getting more and more widened knowledge of enemy behaviors towards you and your abilities, as well as yourself, and integrate it to your game will just make you a better caustic. A point I want to raise also, as I see some caustic players not utilizing fully their abilities, there is nothing wrong about using your gas trap to give you the advantage in a fight. It doesn't mean that your skills or game sense is required to be assisted by those tacticals. And just imagine that using your gas traps is as logical as a Gibby using his bubble, or a race phasing, or an octane padding, or an horizon using a gravital lift to escape a dangerous situation and popping a bat, for example. So, like any legend, you need to be able to utilize seamlessly your capabilities, whether it's a tactical, passive, or ultimate, without disregarding, obviously, your skills and game sense to control the situation. Both combined will only give you an extremely high advantage and success rate in your endeavors. To conclude, caustic traps techniques in a nutshell. Know your traps from the vulnerable moment where they are placed and can be easily destroyed to the moment they can be activated, cancelled, or shot down. Time your strikes. You only have a very short window for your traps to be efficient and act as an element of surprise. Utilize it. Anticipate your enemy behaviors. Like a chess player, always have 1 or 2 moves ahead of your opponents. Finally, be creative and experiment. Embrace the process. It is, after all, well tested. And to conclude this masterclass, we're gonna travel a little bit in time, where the days the gas traps were not able to be destroyed by enemy gunfire. But caustic was, is, and will always be a force to be reckoned with.
Contact with hostile.
Hope you guys enjoyed this new masterclass and learned a couple of things from it. Let me know in the comments below what's your favorite gas trap technique. And if you're new to the channel and wants to know more about Caustic, this is the place to be, so don't forget to subscribe. And for anybody who already has, a big thank you for your support.
I'll make a decision if I want some peace or if I want the glory, yeah. Don't want a life that is complacent or possibly boring, just want a life that is worth every day exploring, My whole life I just wanted